Halloween is upon us again, or as the left believe it to be, Cultural Appropriation Awareness Day. Let me start off by saying that if you are offended because some white person wears a poncho and sombrero, or dresses up in whiteface as a Japanese geisha, then you are just looking for some reason to be upset. And it's just silly. So let's put costumes aside for a second and talk about cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is actually cultural appreciation. One side looks at it as a celebration of culture, while the other side sees it as stealing culture. Is Justin Timberlake stealing something when he writes a song using funky rhythms and Southern gospel melodies? How about Bruno Mars, who's half Filipino, a quarter Jewish, and a quarter Puerto Rican? Is he stealing something from the culture of black people? Or is he celebrating the music he loves and the culture it comes from? I grew up in a small, predominantly white town of about 8,000 people. There were very few black people around, but black culture was everywhere. The way we dressed, the way we talked, the music we listened to, the movies we watched, and the sports we played were all heavily influenced by black culture. That was the early 90s. But get this, my father, who grew up in that same small town, had a record collection, most of which were bought before I was born. As a kid, I would play those old records, a lot. Chuck Berry was the album I played the most. I would also take some of the ones I didn't like and try to scratch with them like a DJ. But I didn't know what I was doing, and I just ended up ruining those records and eventually the record player. But here's the thing. Not only was black culture influencing my life, it had influenced my dad's life, who went to high school in the late 1950s and early 60s, in that same small, predominantly white town in Kentucky. Had my father had any musical talent whatsoever, maybe he would have sang songs from black artists he admired. He appreciated their music enough to be inspired to do so. And if he had, some people would say that's not cultural appreciation, that's cultural appropriation. The word appropriation means to take something for your own use without the owner's permission. So are we to believe that black people as a group own soul music, for example? Or that I'm part owner of country music? But how could that be? Charlie Pride was singing country music long before I was born. Charlie Pride sang the theme song for one of my favorite movies as a kid, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Doesn't a country music legend like Mr. Pride have more in the way of owning or creating that style of music than some random white guy? Should his contribution be ignored or denigrated because of his skin color? I don't think so. That would seem pretty racist to me. Check this out. After high school, I got a scholarship to play sports in college. There I was, around a lot of black people. Some people I became good friends with. One day, when I was a freshman, I was playing video games in a dorm room with a few of the football players. They had hip-hop music playing, and we were just having a good time. I recited a few of the lyrics with one of the songs, and shortly after that, a couple of the guys left rather quickly. Another guy came back and told me that they were mad at me and were thinking about beating me up. I said, for what? You used the N-word, he told me. What do you mean, I asked. I didn't use the N-word. You sang the lyrics to the song and it had the N-word in it, he explained. I asked him, do you think I meant something bad by that? He said, no, you're just not allowed to say it. Like even in the song, I asked? He said, I know you don't mean anything by it, but Jason, you're not allowed to say it. You see, I wasn't allowed to celebrate their culture. And that's what this issue is ultimately about, keeping us divided. Claiming that if I use a word the same exact way a black person uses it is racist, or accusing a white person of appropriating black culture because he writes R&B music, is designed to keep us from coming together. I was a naive teenager that thought I would be welcomed by my new black friends just because I honestly wanted to take part in their culture. I didn't understand the intentional sabotaging that was going on. I didn't realize how hard the left was working to keep it from happening. I was already into politics at that age and heard all of the virtue signaling done by Democrats. And I naively thought that they actually cared about the well-being of disenfranchised minorities. I quickly learned that that was not the case. A few of the guys never liked me after that, just because I wanted to celebrate their culture. And anyone who brings up cultural appropriation is showing you what they're about. They don't want us to get along. They're either doing it to divide us, or they've bought into the lie that it's about taking something away from someone else. Charlie Pride and Bruno Mars haven't taken anything away from anyone. In fact, they've added something wonderful to our culture, the culture that we all share, the American culture. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description